Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. Today we're going to be talking about all the books I read in October. It was a pretty good month. I had about 5 stars, I think. Something like that. Maybe 4 or 5 stars. So a pretty good month, although one of those 5 stars was a graphic novel, which I'm going to show you right now. This is the first book I actually read in the month of October because it just felt appropriate. It took place on Halloween night, and it was just very much October and pumpkins and pumpkin patches and all the warm fuzzies of October. So this is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. I think she did all the illustrations, which is beautiful. The whole, just the whole setup, the characters, the pumpkin patch. I mean, it was just all very fall and just, I loved all the characters in this book. It was so cute, and like every little chapter had their own like little, the characters. So in this little graphic novel, 5-star graphic novel, we follow Deja, I think that's how you say it, Deja and Josiah. It is their last night working at the pumpkin patch. This pumpkin patch is like the pumpkin patch of all, the mother of all pumpkin patches. I wish we had something like this around here. That would be so much fun. But it's basically just a fall festival. There were like so many like little things you could do. It so cute, such a cute little idea. But anyway, so we follow these two, and they have been working together through their like whole high school year, and they are seniors, and it is their last night at the pumpkin patch. They are moving on, graduating, so they will no longer be working at the pumpkin patch together. And it's only a seasonal thing, so it's not like they were there like all the time. It was just once a year during like the fall season. They would meet up at their place of work and just be like the best of friends for that time period. So in this book, they just basically go on an adventure of just everything that they want to do in this pumpkin patch that they never really got to do before, being as they've always just worked like in one particular spot. Also, Josiah has just always liked, or from afar, he's always had his eye on this girl. But he's never had the courage to go up to her. She's never came talk to him. So it is Deja. She's taken it upon herself that she is going to hook them up tonight. It is their last night there. She is going to get them to talk to each other. So it's like this great adventure of discovering everything in the pumpkin patch that they never really got to discover before, trying to find this girl that Josiah has been eyeing all year long. And they just discover how great friends they are in the end. It was such a fun, festive little read. I enjoyed it so much. It took place on Halloween night, but I mean, it's still fall. It's still, even though we're in November, it's still pumpkin time. Pick it up and read it if you're into graphic novels. This one was so much fun. So the next book I read, I'll put a picture of it somewhere over here, Headful Ghost by Paul Tremblay. I was really disappointed in this book. I knew going into it that it was a possession story. I'm not big on possession. I just didn't know like what, like I can do it, but when it starts to get to a certain level, I just don't like it. I thought maybe this would be different. Not different, but I don't know what I was thinking. I just figured I'm gonna give it a try and see if like my feelings are still the same. There's just one particular scene that I didn't care for, but just the overall book for me was pretty boring. I did listen to this on audio. The narrator was okay, but I still think I would have felt the same way if I would have actually read it. I just didn't enjoy the story. The only part that I really did enjoy was of the older Mary telling her story of when she was a child and the possession of her sister. So this is her story of her sister's possession. She was either 8, 9, 10. I don't remember how old Mary was. Marjorie was like a 14-year-old. at that time. She started with like this having these signs of schizophrenia, and then it kind of became more. So Mary's telling her story to like an author, and that's really the only part that I liked, was like the 15-year later Mary. But like her story of the possession, I just didn't really enjoy. But basically, their family was really, really poor. And once this TV show caught wind that there was possibly a real life possession, they wanted to come into their home and like make a TV series out of it. And you know, they would pay them really well for it. So that's kind of how the story goes. And so we get that part of the story. We get a little bit of before and like how she started to become possessed. And then it jumps into where the film crew's all there, and you know, things like that. So it's just your basic possession story. And Mary is just telling it years later to another author to possibly write this story. There was quite a twist at the end that I did like, and she tells this twist to the author. So she kind of leaves it in the author's hands to like do as you may with this information. No one knows this. I have never told anyone. Do what you will with it. And so I just thought the twist on that was really good. But I did give this a 3-star. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it just wasn't for me. Next up, I read an ebook, As the Crow Flies, by Risa Walker and Caleb Amsel. I really enjoyed this story. I gave it 5 stars. It's considered a psychological terror. I actually won this off of Goodreads, and I'm super excited about it because I've never won anything. But this is about a young man that is kind of in 2 worlds. The whole book is actually him in this one world. You don't really get to the other world till more towards the end. It's really hard to explain, but like in this world, in the world that we're reading throughout the book, crazy things are taking place. Like, for instance, someone gets killed, but yet 30 minutes later, you might see them across the street, you know? And like the characters in this story, there are so many characters. And the story was told from a good many of them. It's such a crazy ride. There's so many things going on, so many characters that we're following, so many crazy things happening that some people see and some people don't. So there's like I said, there's like 2 worlds, or 2 dimensions is what I should say. And other people can kind of see Chase, the other dimension Chase. And he's like just kind of hunched over like on this, I guess like maybe like an iPad, kind of like thumbing away at it. And then you see like this other Chase, the Chase of this dimension that we're following. And he's actually, it's just, I don't even know how to explain this book, but it is a really good. I don't like to do this a lot, but I'm going to read you the synopsis, because I feel like I'm not doing it any justice. But I do talk about it a little bit more in depth right after I finish reading it in my part 2 Spookathon vlog. So if you want to know about it, go check out that. Like I said, you don't have to watch the whole thing. It's super long. It's somewhere in the middle. But go check it out, and if you want to know more about it. But I will read you the synopsis. Chase Ray sits perfectly still, his thumbs traveling across the screen of the broken computer tablet, stuck in the nexus between 2 worlds. Haddonwood isn't real. It can't be. Another world, another reality, hovers just beyond his reach. He can see it sometimes. He can almost touch it. In that world, things are in balance. The dead stay dead, and the creature feature remains safely on the screen. That world isn't a patchwork quilt of every scary book or movie he's seen. In that world, the nightmares generally end when you open your eyes and people don't glitch in and out of existence. Chase is determined to return to that world, although he's a bit worried that the only way out is through the noose that seems to lurk around every corner. He needs allies to get back home. But how do you choose your team when you can't tell who's real? That right there just sums it all up for you. That's a great synopsis to the book, because it doesn't really tell you exactly what's going on, because the book is so much more. So I highly recommend it. Next up, we have American Predator. Again, I'll put a picture of it on the screen. I listened to this on audio. I didn't want to buy the book for this. This was actually part of the Friday Fridathon that I did during October. It was just certain books that you were to read starting every Friday of the month, in the month of October. And American Predator was our first book. It was a nonfiction true crime book. I'm not usually a nonfiction reader, first place. I do normally love true crime. I listen to true crime podcasts all the time. But this book for me just was super, super boring. Yes, he was a horrible person that did horrible things and got away with it for many, many years. That part of the book was good. Like, I don't want to say I enjoyed listening to what he did. I didn't. It was, it was just interesting and intriguing to hear about these crimes that he was never caught, never got caught for years. The narrator was very plain, just very monotone. Maybe if I'd have read this book, it had done better. But anyway, 2 stars. I just found it very, very boring. A friend of mine got in touch with me because she follows me on Instagram, and she was intrigued by that book. And she asked me if I like it, and I told her, unfortunately, I didn't like it. But, I always encourage everyone to read, because everyone's different. You may like something I don't like, or I may like something you don't like. It's, we're all so different. And she actually loved it. She thought it was terrifying and very interesting. And I was like, great. I just found most of the story boring, except for sort of the parts where you were kind of finding out like what he did and how he did it, because he did like explain when they finally caught him. He pretty much told his story. So I did find that interesting. As far as just the whole trial and the case of it, that just bores me to tears. Next, I read The Whisper Man. This was also part of the Friday Fridathon. I do actually have that book. And it's right here. I love the cover of this book. I think it's very clever, very, very pretty, black and white, with a little bit of brown mixed in. Very kind of creepish. This is The Whisper Man by Alex North. And I did also listen to this on, I think it was available on Scribd as well. The narrator on this was also very plain. I could not distinguish between his characters, so that was kind of confusing. I think if I would have read this, I might have gotten a little bit more out of it. I did give it 4 stars because I did like the story. I thought it was nice and creepy. It got really creepy at one point, and it just kind of fell short after that. I was good with the ending. I heard a lot of people say that like they didn't like the ending. I mean, I get it. I get what they didn't like about it. But I thought it ended pretty good. So we follow Tom and his son Jake. They are moving into a new home. Jake's mom and Tom's wife passed away several years ago, so they're basically trying just to start fresh, start a new life with each other, and he wants the best for Jake. So they move to this new town, this new home, and in this town is where the Whisper Man was caught 20 years ago. And just recently, a child has gone missing, and they're thinking that it's sort of like a copycat, because they do have the Whisper Man in possession. So we hear from him. He's pretty creepy. I was hoping there would be more of like whispering and luring these children out. I wish it would have been maybe more of that part of the story, but it was still good. I still liked it, and I am glad I got to read it during the month of October. Next is The Escape Room by Megan Golden. This was also a Friday Fridathon read. This was really good as well. I gave this one 4 stars also. I I did listen to this one on audio as well, which the audio version was very good. We had 2 narrators, which I thought was, I love when there's multiple narrators. You kind of get it from a different perspective from these characters. So I really did enjoy the audiobook of this. So this was very, very clever. I thought there was going to be more to it, actually. So I was kind of disappointed in that. I was thinking that it was sort of going to be like a game. So they were going to be lured into like this room called the escape room, and you know, have like these clues, like whatever they had to do, like these clues or something, and that it was going to turn horrible, you know. But it actually wasn't like that at all. It was actually kind of boring. So we have these corporate office workers. They're very high up in their game. They're into like you know, stocks and bonds, and they know how to work the stock market and all this stuff. So anyway, it's like, I think it's like 4 of them, and they get news. Well, they get news from their boss, which gets news from his boss, to come to the office and join in this escape room game that they're going to do. Is for the office. It has something to do with like their raises and things like that. So they're lured into this escape room, and they're basically trapped in this elevator. They do get some clues here and there, but then we also get Sarah's story, and her story is what really kept me going with this book and what really made me enjoy it the way that I did. She was actually hired to be part of this, you know, Fantastic Four, and she was in the mix with them. So it's her story of, you know, how she got started with them, how she got hired, her story of like, you know, her job, and how they might have like manipulated her, the stories that she's heard that they've done to other people. So, you know, so there's like the kind of like the story in a story. I enjoy those kind of things. But her story was really what kept me going with this book. The escape room part of it was truly boring, but I thought like towards the end, when we started getting to the end, I thought it was really clever. I enjoyed the ending of it. Sarah's side of the story, as well as the escape room side of the story. So it started to get more exciting towards the end. And I really liked it, except for just like the whole stuck in an elevator. That was pretty boring. But if you can get past that and just pay attention to Sarah's story, that's all you need. Now we're going to get into my Spookathon reads. I do have, at the end of my Spookathon vlog part 2, if you want to go to that video, at the very end, just skip over the rest of the nonsense that is in that video. At the very end, I go through all the books that I read, explain them to you in that video, probably much better than I can explain them in this video, but of course I will kind of give you a little bit here, but I do encourage you to go to that video because I explain things a little bit better in there. Just go towards the end. But first up, we have The Cabin by Natasha Preston. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. This is a young adult thriller. I felt like it was more of a mystery really than a thriller. There wasn't too much thrilling about it, maybe towards the end, but it was really a fun read. So we have these group of teens. They've just graduated high school. They're going to, you know, move on, maybe separate from each other. So they just kind of wanted to have like a last hurrah with each other. So they go to one of the friends' parents has this cabin. It's a very nice cabin in the woods, and they go there. There's nothing creepy about it. But all the friends go there, and, you know, they partying it up, getting drunk. And 2 of their friends end up murdered the next morning. When they wake up, they find them. And then the story kind of takes on from there. You get that right in the very beginning. And of course, they have like this very annoying detective that, I mean, he suspects all of them, which I get because there was no sign of anyone breaking into the cabin. There was, you know, there was no sign of like a struggle or anything like that. So of course he suspects that it's one of them. But he was just really rude and annoying about it like the entire time, and I just didn't like him. But he was the only character that I didn't like. But I really connected with all the characters, and I was just like, the whole time I was like, none of these people could have done it. But I just thought it was really fun. I've never read a YA thriller or mystery. Like I said, I feel like this was more just a mystery, but I really enjoyed it. It was a good time. And then next for the Spookathon, I read all 3 of the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. These were really fun too. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I did listen to The Cabin. I got it from my library, and it was read by Morag Sims. Really good narrator. I highly recommend the audio if you're into audios. I really enjoyed her narration. Okay, back to these. I did actually just read these. These were so easy to read, they were so much fun to read. I kind of gave these different ratings. I gave the first one and the last one 4 stars, and then I gave the second one just like 3 stars. I just found the second one to be the stories just to be on a little boring side. I don't know. I found myself kind of like not wanting to continue reading, but I was like, no, they're very short. Let me just get through them. But these two I really did like. Now the first one, there's a little bit of it in this one too, but it's more of like a guide of how you would tell your friends a scary story. But I thought it was cute. There's like 3 sections in each of the books, and so like in the beginning of this one is just like little campfire stories, and then you start getting into the more creepier stories, and it was a lot of like urban legends, tales in this one, which I really enjoyed. Like I said, the second one, the stories I just found like kind of boring, and then the third one was pretty creepy. I actually didn't want to read this one at night because it was kind of creepy. I started to read it one evening, and I was just like, I'll wait till tomorrow to read it. The stories were actually kind of creepy, but it was really fun. I enjoyed these. I really want to see the movie because I want to see how they put all these stories, or how they portrayed this into a movie. If you saw the movie, let me know down below. That kind of rhymed. My friend went and see the movie, and she told me it was really, really good. She's never read the books, but she said the movie was good. Also for the Spookathon, I read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. 5 stars for this one. I talk a lot about it in my Spookathon wrap-up at the end of the video. This was such a good book. This is sci-fi, so if you're kind of on the fence with sci-fi, or you're like, oh no, I don't like sci-fi, I'm not going to read that. No, read it. But we follow Jason Desson. He is a brilliant scientist, and 15 years ago, he chose to take one path instead of the other. And he's loved his life, and he's never regretted it. But of course, in the back of his mind, he's always wondered, well, what if I'd have went down this road instead? Where would I be now? Of course, everybody probably goes through this in some kind of way. But in this book, that other Jason might exist. And he might want to know the exact same thing. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I talk about it again a lot more in that Spookathon wrap-up. But it was so good. I highly, highly recommend this. I did also listen to this on audio. The narration was phenomenal. It was read by John Lindstrom. Fantastic job. And the last book I read in October is Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. Another 5-star. I really enjoyed this book. Again, it was kind of a story within a story. I'm a big fan of that. So we follow Amber in this story. She is in a very horrible accident. You don't really know what kind of accident until you get further towards the end of the book. But it was a very bad accident. It's put her in a coma. But all of a sudden she kind of wakes up, but not fully. She's just aware of her surroundings. She can't move. She can't open her eyes, but she can hear everything around her. She knows what's going on. You know, she can feel all those things. I will say there's trigger warning for rape in here. I'm not a big fan of rape, in books. I don't like it on screen. I don't like it in books. But I pulled through. I got through it. It wasn't terrible, but it's still there. You know, it's still there. I read through it though. I got through it. That was the only part of the book that I didn't like, but wasn't going to go down on my rating just because of that. Because it was well done. It was well written, I should say. It wasn't well done, it was well written. So, but we also get her, not only do we follow her during, like, while she's at the hospital in the coma and can hear everything around her, which was so interesting to me. We also get her story of, like, the week before the accident, of how things led to that accident. And then we also get her diary entries from when she was a young girl. All of that information leads to how she got to where she's at now. Again, the twist on this was just crazy good. I was actually pretty blown away by the ending and the twist of everything. So 5 stars, highly recommend it. I can't wait to read the next. I have one more. I have another Alice Feeney. Although I hear that one's not as good as this one, but I still want to check it out because the writing in this book was just very good. I also listened to this on audio, which I highly recommend. Very good narration on this book. I don't have it written down who narrated it, but very good narration. All right, that's it, y'all. That's all the books I read in the month of October. So pretty good with 4 or 5 stars. As always, I will have all these books listed down below if you want to check any of them out. But thank y'all so much for watching. As always, come follow me on all my social medias. I'll have all that down below as well. I'm always on Instagram. I have a Twitter. I'm always on Goodreads. So yes, let's be friends. Come follow me there. And that's it, y'all. Y'all have a great one, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.